Hello! Woo, I'm dizzy. Guess where I am? Guess who I am? I am Kelsey. I'm at the Effie Arts on Tranquille in Kamloops, BC. I'm Kelsey, and this is...
On Location.
This is Todd.
Oh, hi, this is Todd. Yeah, but also I have a microphone. So
He's behind the camera.
I'm behind the camera for a minute. Boy, we're so professional.
I'm really messing up this introduction.
We're
on location.
At the Effie Arts Collective, where there is a 24-hour playwriting jam going on right now. In the distance, you can see two fellows there. They're madly tapping away on their scripts.
Oh, look at that. So much passion.
So much passion, so much drama. And we're about to hang out here for an hour and chat with these guys about what they're working on.
Just want to point out the bedding.
Yep.
Just in case.
Yep. Thank you, Kelsey, for pointing out the bedding.
All right. Sorry I messed up that introduction. So here we go.
Look at that.
Here you go.
Dramatic swivel to a reveal of
Hello.
two fine young gentlemen.
Oh, I don't know.
And let me just lock this in place somehow. And I will join you.
Snuggle.
Good day.
Hi.
Good day.
How are we feeling today?
Very tired. How are you?
I suspect less tired.
Yeah.
So tell us what's going on here. Tell us about the 24-hour playwriting jam.
Welcome to the Effie Arts Collective, which is often our home here. My name is Andrew Robertson. I'm the artistic producer of Chimera Theatre. And this is Dan Ondang. Dan, what's your title?
My title is Artistic Managing Director.
Wow.
Ooh.
And so, between the two of us, we put together this event. It was based on an event that we once, twice did, many years ago at TRU. So the student theater club at TRU was called Trudat. Does it still exist?
I believe so. I just don't know who's running it
Maybe still
anymore.
on paper it exists.
Yeah,
and
TRU Drama and Theater.
I was going to say
They
what
wanted to spell something.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
So Trudat used to run the 24-hour playwriting competition, where they would bring everyone into the theater and they would lock you in for 24 hours. And if you leave, you
Against
get
your will?
disqualified.
Hopefully not.
And it, I mean, I wrote a play once there.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Me too.
So some real work got done, and that event sort of fell by the wayside as.
As student organizations, they don't keep leadership for more than 4 years.
Right.
Yeah, so as leadership changed from one student to the next, the event sort of fell by the wayside back then. With us, we wanted to bring it back, but we took out the competition element because it's very difficult to enforce
It's
the.
hard to judge art.
Well, I was going to ask,
Yeah.
what was the competition angle? Was it like most words written? Was it like who successfully finished a play?
There,
How do you win?
That's sort of exactly the problem.
Right.
Right.
I believe when we attended it back in, it was your scripts were judged by a panel, and it just tends to become just who likes.
Yeah.
What do you get three
one do you
people to
like
like the
more?
most?
Yeah.
The other thing is that they got very hung up on how do we know you're following the rules? How do we know that you started during the 24 hours, that you didn't bring something half written already? And it was on the honor system, which is good enough for me, but it was impossible to say for sure. You kind of just had to be on the honor system that, I didn't write any of this before the 24 hours began. Here's completely original, completely new work
Right.
as of 24 hours ago. And because that's so difficult to verify, and because we were expecting a light turnout, everything after COVID has had such a light turnout.
Right.
We thought removing the competition element would keep it a little more casual and a little more friendly to people coming and going, and that's kind of what we've had here. Instead of a
That's intimidating.
instead of a locked in for 24 hours and stay up all night situation, we've had a sort of an open house. People have come and gone throughout the event.
We're not in college anymore, you know. It's
We're
You have more
and some folks want to go sleep in their own beds instead of sleeping on the couch.
we're in our 30s now.
Sorry, guys, we're alive.
Yeah, we're not 21.
So you wrote a play. That was the point, was to write a play.
That was the idea, was to
Yeah.
write a play. Yeah.
It'd be neat to incorporate, like, I mean, if the competition ran a little longer, to like write a play and then like produce a play,
yeah.
and, you know, like go all the way.
Right.
'Cause, yeah, we never mind. It's not about us. It's about you.
Yeah, we've thought about other ways to expand it. This year's event is kind of a dry run for how it might look in the future. Because, first thing we did was get here and go, oh, we could have done this, we could have done this,
Right.
we could have done this. And so whether we do this again next year or maybe even sooner,
How many people came?
at our height, I think there were about 6 people here writing at the same time.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Last night, and that's certainly, I mean, that's enough to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
We would love to fill this place up
Sure.
next time.
How did you advertise it?
Posters up at TRU, social media a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a
Let
lot
the
of
word out.
sign-ups and that.
Yeah, we had more people sign up than actually attended, which was
Oh.
so strange to see.
Because
Yeah.
there was a sign up fee, wasn't there? So
Yeah,
people
yeah.
paid $10 and they didn't show.
Hey, we got you $10,
I
guys.
guess, yeah.
So, and you guys ate food and stuff? Like you had.
Yeah, we ordered
Survive.
pizza.
Yeah, we-
They
Late
ate.
at night.
Maybe not food. I don't know.
Yeah, you saw the pizza under the grill.
I did, yeah, we did.
Count as food.
we ordered late night pizza. We, Aaron's been very generous with his tea and coffee.
Yeah, brought in a cappuccino machine just for us.
Damn.
Really
Wait,
good
where's
too.
it?
And we all crashed for And we all crashed for a couple hours, except I think Aaron, who every time I woke up during the night, you were nodding away at the desk, but you were there. You didn't leave the chair.
You forgot his session working on Act 2 on the couch with his hat over his face.
Oh yes, that's right.
So
That
what
did
are you
happen.
guys working on?
Right now,
I'll let you go. Yeah.
so what I'm working on right now is an adaptation of Dracula by Bram Stoker. I want to bring Dracula to the stage at some point. It's I'm trying to set reasonable goals for myself. It's a 24-hour event. This is something where I started with a blank page today on this event, although I do have lots of notes and planning that I've been thinking about this for more than a year. And I've gotten through, well, my goal for the end of this event, and we'll see if we meet it or not, is that I get all the way through Act 1, which I think is a more reasonable goal than writing an entire play.
Sure, yeah.
In previous versions of this event, we wrote 1 act or something, and so that's something that I hope will be ready for production one of these Halloweens.
What's
future.
the draw to Dracula for you? What is it about that story that made you want to adapt it?
I had there are a lot of ways that I think it can be made very visually interesting on stage. There's also, I really have a thing for when something like, for example, Dracula and vampires as a whole is a grand cultural phenomenon that influences stories and influences genres. You think about all the vampire movies, and all the vampire D&D games and vampire novels and
It's a huge chunk of our culture, yeah.
vampires are a piece of folklore that has existed for centuries, but the cultural ideal of a vampire has been filtered through this novel Dracula. It's inescapable in your cultural perception. Dracula came out, this novel came out at a time when lots of vampire stories were being written. It was certainly not the beginning of a trend. It was more like the apex of a trend in its time. And vampires in folklore were not terribly distinguishable from zombies. They were cursed dead people come back from the grave. They were wretched monsters. They were poor people. They were sinners and cursed individuals and such. And so it was quite subversive for Dracula to be a wealthy person,
Right.
suffering from this poor people curse. It was quite subversive for its time that Dracula was a nobleman who owns a castle and wears nice clothes and has a highborn bloodline, and that he's a vampire. And so anytime you think of a vampire as someone who is very suave and well dressed and rich and lives in a castle,
That directly takes you back to Dracula.
That's been filtered through Dracula.
Right.
And so what I found about this novel, compared to, because again the cultural phenomenon of Dracula, when you see Dracula as a Halloween decoration, you're seeing a cartoon version of Bela Lugosi in the movie.
Yeah.
You're not. Even the book is kind of a stage removed from this character that you're picturing in your head. And so what I found, a lot of the differences between the book and the modern understanding of Dracula to be very interesting. This book is not sexy at all. It's certainly sexual, but it's predatory. It's violent. It's not titillating to the reader, and at least I don't think so.
Yeah.
Whatever floats your boat.
Some
Yeah. Yeah. I won't speak for everybody. It's not titillating to the reader the way that, for example, the Francis Ford Coppola movie
Yeah.
is quite gratuitous in its sexuality.
Yeah.
The other thing is that this book, intentionally or not, is often very funny.
Oh, interesting.
This is a hilarious book, and I don't think it's supposed to be, but I can't. I mean, he has to have known. Dracula. So in the first chunk of the novel, which is the first act that I'm trying to adapt today, Jonathan Harker is a real estate agent, and he's going to Transylvania, and he's going to try to seal a real estate deal for Dracula, who wants to buy a house in England.
Right.
He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything about a vampire. He's certainly never read the novel Dracula, so he
Would be weird if he had.
He lives in a world that does not have this cultural understanding of a vampire. So when Dracula answers the door, and he is the most obvious vampire you've ever seen in your life, I cannot. So Dracula answers the door, and he's white as chalk, and he has crazy Mozart hair, and he has a mustache and red lips, and he has sharp teeth, and he has clawed fingers and hairy palms, and he's dressed all in black, and his eyes are bloodshot, and he looks down and he says, "Welcome to my home," and Harker, our protagonist, goes, what a interesting foreign man. He doesn't have the benefit that we have of vampires as a cultural phenomenon, to look at that guy and go, "Oh, you're a vampire. I'm leaving right now." So
it's a bit like all of those modern zombie movies that don't acknowledge that zombies are a thing in that universe. Everyone's like, "What are these strange things walking around?"
Exactly. And so there's something really funny about that. You ever read Jurassic Park, the novel?
I did a long time ago.
It's also got a little bit of that there's this mystery. What's this corporation up to? And you and I both know what they're up to is Dinosaur Theme Park, but the book pretends you don't know that
Right.
and acts like it's a big mystery before that's revealed. And the same thing is kind of going on here in Dracula when they're searching down the mystery. Oh, Lucy's got these strange marks on her neck, and she's been given a blood transfusion every night this week, and every morning she's empty. And when we put garlic flowers out, nothing happened. She was safe that night, and they piece these clues together. And you're reading this thing, going, "Yeah, there's a vampire," but you have to watch these characters who don't
know what a
the
vampire
benefit of
is.
that. And so,
And I wondered too, though, like whether the readers at the time would have been just as sort of in the dark, because so many of those
yeah,
vampire tropes would have originated there.
I'm certainly not an expert in. I do know that this came out at a time when vampires were popular, so I
Okay.
think they bought it. Vampire, but even if you know where it's going, can pull you through in the same way that Jurassic Park is a very compelling read, even when you know where it's headed is
Yep.
Dinosaur Theme Park. Watching the characters fall through this mystery, even though you know the conclusion is vampire, is very compelling all the same. And it's both compelling and at times, I think, unintentionally hilarious. You know, one of the things that Harker notes is that Dracula doesn't have any servants in his castle, but he's pretending like he does. So he gets picked up by this valet riding a horse cart, and it's this guy dressed all in black with his face obscured and his hat down real low, and he doesn't talk much. The only thing that really happens on the ride is that when they get beset upon by wolves, the driver gets down off the coach and commands the wolves to leave, and they listen to him. And then he gets back up, and they get to the front door, and the driver says, "Okay, just go knock on the door, and Dracula will answer. I have to go park around the other side," and leaves him there. And the driver leaves, and then Harker sits there for about 20 minutes, and then eventually Dracula answers the door out of breath, like he's just ran around the back of the. And you have to assume Dracula is pretending to have a driver,
Right.
and he has just run around the back of the castle and run to the front door, and he's pretending. And then he says, "Oh, my forgive me, my servants are asleep.
It's a facade.
Let me serve you dinner. The servants are sleeping." Yeah, exactly. And there's another scene where they're discussing this real estate deal, and Harker says, "Oh, let me go into my room and grab something." And while he's in the room, there's this scuffling and clanging of dishes, and then when he returns, the table's been set for dinner, and Dracula's sitting on the couch reading a farmer's almanac or something, pretending like he didn't just get up and set the table. "Oh, you just missed the servants. They were just here."
Right.
And so there's a lot, and I'm hard pressed to be convinced that Stoker didn't know how funny that is, but it's presented, at least from the characters, as being very creepy.
Yeah.
And what it actually is hilarious.
Well, I'm picturing like a fun adaptation being one where like we followed, instead of like following Harker, you follow Dracula as he has to run through his, trips over a stone or something. And
Well, I think what I want to do is lean into the comedy of this so that the audience lets their guard down.
right. Yeah.
So that when it gets scary, you weren't expecting that. You were expecting
It's an interesting approach.
I love
you were
that
expecting
idea.
that it would continue to be funny, and then when it gets scary, when it gets disturbing, then it really
I feel like each
catches
film
you by
or play should have multiple genres intertwined.
Yeah.
I think there's always funny parts, scary parts, dramatic parts.
Yeah, the contrast brings out all of the different flavors.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that sounds really interesting. I just recently discovered there's I think this was done last year or the year before. There was a group on the internet that did a collective reading of Dracula, but what they did is because it's, I don't know how to pronounce the word exactly, the epistolary It's the book is made up of letters, right, that are written on
Epistolary,
certain epistolary.
Yes, the book is...
So this reading group read it as it happened, right? So they would read chapter whatever it was, which is May, and then they wouldn't read anymore until the next date.
That's so funny. You should go look up a website called Dracula Daily.
Is that what it is?
So Dracula is it's kind of like the novel version of found footage. It's a collection of journal entries and letters and newspaper articles that the author claims to have arranged into this narrative.
Okay.
So you're reading the first part that is Harker's journal, where he's saying all the spooky stuff that happened at the castle, and then you're reading Mina and Lucy's letters back and forth, and you're getting the story secondhand through all of this as to what happens.
Neat way to present it.
And so, because they're journal entries and letters and newspaper articles, they all have dates on them. And so Dracula Daily is an email thing I subscribe to, where they will send you pieces of Dracula on the date that it's dated every year. So it starts in May.
Right.
And it runs until November. I think they just finished. So if you go look that up and sign up for it, you'll start getting Dracula in your inbox in May.
That's very cool. There's actually a collection now of that website. They've got it all broken up by the dates, as well as like comments that were done during the original run of the emails. So that's how I first found out about it. As I saw the book, which was interesting.
Well, fortunately, the edition that I have is very well annotated, because there's quite a lot of historical context to a lot of the things they say. There's quite a lot of the book having to stop and explain to you the history of something for this to make sense. And so there's asterisks all the way through the whole thing, and then there's this big appendix that tells you, like, for one thing, I tried to look on a map and track Harker's train journey to Transylvania, and what I found was that none of the cities he stops in has the same name that it did in
interesting.
When this book was written, nor the same spelling on some of them. There are a lot of words in it where when I Google that, Wikipedia spells it differently, or somebody else spells it differently, and it's because a lot of these things didn't have a consensus at that time, and so I had to look up each of these cities and find out what they're called now, and then look on the map and go, okay, yes, this makes sense now.
Nice. Well, I don't want to keep you from your work, so why don't we...
You want to switch around?
Yeah, we'll let you get back to it. We'll chat with Dan and maybe bring up Zach.
I'll pass you over to Dan to talk about his stuff.
Yeah.
And you can maybe get some Zach.
Yeah.
All right. And
Thanks.
I'll cycle back through later. You'll probably see me again.
Sweet. Perfect. Thanks for sharing. So why don't we dig into what you've been working on yesterday?
My project at this has been, I'm working on an adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's The Call of Cthulhu, adapting it into a piece of, I'm trying to adapt it into a piece of children's theater.
Okay. I would not have necessarily gone to H.P. Lovecraft for inspiration. That's interesting.
And see, it. I understand that kind of seems like a weird thing, but I think we've reached an era where there's lots of goth parents out there now that are going to bring their kids to H.P. Lovecraft.
You can start them young, right?
Yeah. And I don't know. I just think there's something so interesting in this story of cosmic horror, the story of there being greater forces at work than what we could even imagine, that really start them early so that we can our future generations are going to have bigger problems to deal with than we can even imagine now.
Right.
And that's just a fact of our world, and we have to prepare for it. And part of my goal as well has been that H.P. Lovecraft was a noted racist. Even in his own time, a much more racist time than ours.
He was considered pretty darn racist.
People were like, "Whoa, wow, that guy."
Maybe he should dial that back just a little.
And that's something that I have found reading The Call of Cthulhu, is that, man, this guy can't go a paragraph without just sneaking a little. He's just gotta put in something about mixed race people just 'cause. And I'm like, man, you don't need that. Especially when parts of it sort of run contrary to our modern notions about what type of people are who. The notable example that really kicked me off on this and got me thinking that there's something here. It takes place as this guy who's a university professor. His uncle dies and leaves him a bunch of notes. And in the notes, they talk about there being a extremely religious group of zealots in the deep American South that practice ritual sacrifice and incest, and they're black. And I thought, wait a minute, no, they're not. I know who that is, and they're not black. So what I've had a lot of fun doing is just going in and taking the race stuff out, and suddenly it fits within our modern consciousness without changing the other stuff, and it can still be funny and creepy and compelling in that kind of way. And because a lot like, frankly, a lot like Andrew's adaptation of Dracula, it's sort of presented in the original short story as, this is a story written by a guy who read a bunch of notes, and this is what those notes were about. And here's a newspaper article that was in the notes, and blah, 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 such and such. I'm trying to use the medium of having one human actor and then a bunch of puppet actors to sort of give that story nested within a story type feeling.
So as he's maybe narrating the story he read, the puppets are portraying it, kind of a thing.
Yeah. I've tried to adapt it into this. It's maybe not out of time necessarily, but into a wider spectrum of time, where sure there's no paper clippings, but there can be a tape. Tape recording wasn't very popular when H.P. Lovecraft wrote this thing in the first place, but to us now, it feels like an older piece of. It feels like an ancient piece of technology to us now.
Yeah.
Such that it really can expand the era that this takes place in. It can give this a sense of having taken place over the same way that the original story does, having taken place over 50 or 80 years of this research and of pulling up stuff from the past and finding these different cults and worshippers of Cthulhu. And what I'm trying to bring to the story myself is a more modern continuation of that, taking what's in H.P. Lovecraft's original story of, here's the creepy stuff that happens in the Deep South, and what's the other one? Here's a bunch of artists have the same dream that's very scary all over the country on the same night. And that just creeps me out a little bit. And then the original short story culminates in a news article and then subsequent interviews with the crew of the ship mentioned in the news article that sails out into the Pacific Ocean and finds an island that's not supposed to be there, and beaches on that island and investigates, and they find geography and architecture that just can't be perceived properly by a human. That stuff where you can fall into a chasm that's actually a corner, and that weirds me out, and I think will be a lot of fun to do with puppets on stage.
For sure.
As well as when they eventually do see Cthulhu, what I've envisioned is that the guys can be little finger puppets, and then Cthulhu can be a big hand puppet and really tower over them the way that a skyscraper towers over a person in the street, that if a skyscraper could walk, you would be scared of it.
For sure, yeah.
Because it would step on you without even thinking about it. And what I'm trying to add on to the end of that is, well, obviously a federal agency knows about this. Obviously, we can weave in, for example, modern conspiratorial thinking can weave into this as being part of the next generation of the Cthulhu cult. And similarly, the kinds of things that a modern conspiracy theorist is against are the kinds of things, pardon me, that keep Cthulhu away. My sort of big addition at the end is I want the main character, Francis Thurston, to find out that the public transit system is designed in such a way that it's a sigil to keep Cthulhu asleep.
Oh, nice.
And that is why now the modern descendants of the Deep South religious zealot Louisiana ritual sacrifice and incest cult are trying to dismantle public services across the country.
To help Cthulhu
because
rise.
They're trying to raise Cthulhu. They're polluting and they're bullying and there's just people out there being awful to each other because that's what helps Cthulhu rise. Right. So the best thing we can do is build up public services and be nice to each other. And that's how we can keep Cthulhu away.
I feel like that's a t-shirt right there.
Yeah.
Like, be nice to others. It keeps Cthulhu away, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, so yeah, that's what I'm working on. And I've learned a lot of new slurs. had to look them up. And
I would love to ask you what your favorite one that you've learned is, but I don't think it's safe for TELUS.
So you know what? There's no swears in this one, and it's not even real. It's one about me. H.P. Lovecraft hates mixed race people more than any one single race. So I learned that half caste is a slur for mixed race
Really?
people in the 20s.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Rude.
What?
You're half of a caste?
From two different castes. So
You're only a half.
Cast with an E?
Yeah, cast with an E.
Okay.
It's
Weird.
relatively tame by today's standards.
I guess it would
I
be.
think you can get away with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, good on Lovecraft for sneaking in a couple of like TV friendly ones. Yeah, even before live streaming existed, he was preparing for us to be able to talk about it.
And to think that that's in a paragraph that's about boats.
Yeah. Some people get obsessed.
Yeah.
How much progress have you made so far?
Well, I did not do the proper playwriting competition thing. I started with about 3 pages.
Okay.
Well, because you took an 8-hour nap.
Yeah.
So that's
Necessary for the process. I started with about 3 pages, and I think I've got 12-ish pages now.
That's pretty good.
And it sure runs long because it's basically all one monologue. It's one guy talking the whole time with a couple of puppet stuff interspersed. So it's a real long 12 pages, and I've had to go back and fix stuff in the first 3 pages, so it's basically all new anyway.
How do you deal with writer's block?
I
Take an 8-hour nap.
The nap helps. My thing with writer's block is I just usually when I find I'm having writer's block, it's that I'm not satisfied with what I'm able to commit to the page at the time. Rather than being able to commit absolutely nothing, it's just, oh man,
this isn't working.
I don't like any of this.
That's fair.
And what I do is just be like, well, I'm going to not like this.
Push through it.
I guess it's going to be bad for a little bit, and I'll fix it later.
Fix it in post.
And, well, so far it's been bad for a bit, but I've fixed it.
Now, you guys are also working on something together a little bit, aren't you?
Let's
talk about that quickly.
I've been working on this Lovecraft thing, so Zach's been doing most of the work.
Yeah, Zach.
Sure. Yeah, we're working on, we don't have a name for it or anything yet. I think the doc, it's called girl band thing.
Yeah.
It's essentially about 4 women who go through certain, like they each have like a crisis, and they used to be in a punk rock band, and they come back together to get the band back together. Very inspired by George Johnson's Boomerangst,
Oh.
which we both worked on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is like our punk rock answer
To Boomerangs,
to
yeah.
his hippie
Right.
play with lots of love. And really, in the early stages, I think I've got like 12 pages, but it's 12 pages of word vomit, and
That's punk.
That's
Yeah.
a good point.
and it's been interesting. You've taken a bit of a look at what I've puked out over last night.
So graphic.
Yeah. I've taken a look at it and I really like it. I think it's got a great. You've got a great sense for naturalistic dialogue. In that, I believe that these are punks talking.
Yeah, Dan came to me with this idea for the show months ago. Because Dan, I go to all the local punk rock shows. I missed one last night because I was here.
Oh.
And it's a big it's a subculture I'm very into. So writing about it is very satisfying, and
It's easy for you to step
it's easy to
into.
like, fit into, and we're in the middle of discussing Easter eggs, how much of those there are going to be,
Right.
as far as references, and
So far, it's everybody's name.
it's everybody's name, and that's it.
Okay, what would be an example then of one of these Easter egg names?
Like a musician, you mean?
Yeah, so our lead, they're all kind of the lead, but if there was one lead, her name is Kim, after Kim Deal of the Pixies.
Ah, okay.
Cool.
That's one. And then I name drop a bunch of men in a row.
Yeah.
And it's like some of them are the Ramones. One of them is Henry from Henry Rollins.
Right.
Glenn Danzig at the end.
Glenn Danzig is the last one, yeah. Although I think I spelt it wrong. I think he has 2 N's. I used 1 N in the script, but
They're gonna say it out loud.
they're gonna say it out loud. It doesn't matter. So yeah, that's in the really, really early stages. Just started with pretty much a slight idea. We got to write a bunch of songs now too.
Yeah.
Sweet.
But they're punk songs.
cool.
won't
They're
be too
punk
hard.
songs. It's 3 chords and it's
cool.
a minute and a half long,
Brilliant.
and that'll be lots of fun.
Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, it should be good.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that all comes together. Yeah, that sounds like, an exciting idea.
I hope so.
It's a show I'd go see. So
Yeah.
that's-
Yeah,
That's
I
all
only,
you
I
can
only
do,
write
right?
things I'll go see.
That's all you can do is like write stuff that you know that you would like. I always find that trying to create something to please other people is always a recipe for failure.
Yeah.
Like if you please yourself, then you at least know that people who have similar taste will also enjoy that. But if you're trying to appeal to a group that like you don't understand, you just like want to hit the kids, it's
Well, it comes
hardly
from
ever
an
going
inauthentic
exactly.
place too, right? You're just kind of a poser pretending to be
Yes.
that thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
If there's
It's
one
like-
thing we hate here, it's posers.
That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
I think when you write something to please yourself and you're deep in the process of pleasing yourself, that passion comes through
Yeah.
in the end product.
And then as well, like even if it's a project that never sees the light of day, hopefully you at least enjoyed the experience of creating it.
Oh yeah, and
Right.
you learn, right?
Yeah.
I have
Who
lots
doesn't
of
enjoy
things
pleasing themselves?
Who doesn't?
that no one's ever seen or I've never told anyone about. Because in the end, I'm like, this isn't good enough, but I learned from it,
Yeah.
and I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
So it's always valuable. Creating something bad's better than not creating anything.
I agree. That's a really good attitude, though.
So do you mainly write for plays or do you ever write film scripts?
We've together again. We've made, and with Andrew and some others, we've made short films, but not a lot of writing
You
them.
never write them in the first place.
It's
We just
kinda-
go and we're like, okay,
We want this shot. We want this shot. I haven't done any really film writing. No,
It's a
Is
bit
it
of a.
similar?
I think they're similar.
I think that writing for film, from what I've like studied of it, and what I've seen in Boomerangs that we worked on, was an adaptation of a film script for the stage. Written as a film script and then converted into a play. What I've found is that in film you have more tools. You have like a different set of tools for sure. But stuff that works on stage can work in film pretty easily, but stuff that works in film doesn't always work on the stage because you're so much more restricted by you've got 2 hours to do the whole thing.
The time
and you have to move all the furniture in between.
Yeah.
Whereas in a film, you just cut to somewhere else.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you only have so much space. You only have so much time. You only have so much people.
Yeah.
Like in a film, you can cast extras and things. In theater, you're going to cast one person for one scene, and they have to sit around for weeks. No, that's just not fair, right? So it's different. But then I find with theater, you can do things that are more emotionally manipulative to the audience.
Yes.
With your lights and your sound and your staging.
And the intimacy of it.
And exactly.
Yeah.
And you can get right in their face and be like, "You're here."
Maybe even should.
Yeah. Well, I think in theater, the suspension of disbelief is higher.
Yeah, it has to be.
Because it's in person and because
It's very obvious, like, that you're looking at a set. It's
the audience knows it's fake, but they still choose to believe.
You have to, yeah.
Whereas in film, if you know it's fake, the audience is more likely to choose not to believe.
right, like with like certain
Like
CGI graphics.
Yeah,
and-
yeah.
Oh, yeah. When it looks bad, it looks bad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm the first to rip the movie apart. Totally.
Now,
Interesting. I didn't know that there was such a difference.
but you're also working on your own adaptation.
My own adaptation, yes. I'm working on Treasure Island. I actually, this draft I'm doing notes on, I finished last spring, and we did a stage reading of it at Hydra Festival right
very
here
cool,
on this
very cool.
stage. And it went very well. I got lots of great feedback from all the actors I had and the audience members. And I wrote down all the notes in the script and put it in a box and haven't looked at it since April. Just because it was just I needed to let it sit for a little while.
Totally,
I was
yeah.
so immersed in it for a long time. So I pulled that out and have been going through and mostly doing the spelling mistakes that I noticed right now, or some of like the awkward wording, and then the big structural changes are coming up probably later today.
Right.
It's Treasure Island. I love it. It's one of my favorite stories. I stole a lot from other adaptations. Don't tell anyone. Yeah,
You're telling them.
I know. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's fun.
What was the draw for Treasure Island?
Since I was a kid, I have loved pirates. Absolutely adored them. I remember when I was a teenager, there was this big internet debate, ninjas versus pirates.
Oh man.
You know that? Yeah, you know that, Dan?
Oh yeah.
I was always firmly on the pirate side.
You could be
Always.
a pirate. I could see it.
I got an eye patch at home.
Hey.
There you go. You're halfway there.
There you
I just got to cut off
Chop
my
off
leg.
one leg.
Do this one. This is the one that's injured. So,
There you go.
You need it.
Yeah.
and it's a great coming of age story. It's and it's larger than life. It's a young boy Jim Hawkins is thrown into this epic adventure that is his wildest dreams, and I've taken it, and it's not super in the book, but there's repercussions to this. It's a violent book. It is not. It's listen. We can't do blood on the stage really because
Right.
it's messy, but there would be blood. Pirates are they're violent. So this young boy who fantasizes about them, and then is shown firsthand what the life is actually like, I just find super compelling.
Right.
Yeah.
It's quite like he's shocked by it. I
Yeah.
assume. Yeah. It's not the
there's this-
romanticized version
The
that
great
he has in
moment
his
where
head.
he changes because he has to enact violence himself,
Right.
in self-defense. It's good. I love it. It's also just fun too. It's funny, and the pirates talk in funny pirate voices. There's great juxtaposition throughout.
Yeah, something I really liked about your adaptation at Hydra Festival when I read it was that it shows Jim's coming of age by him becoming disillusioned with pirates. Mm-hmm. That he comes from having this fantasy and being like, yeah, I want to yo ho ho, the pirate's life for me, and then after living it, he's like, oh, I'm gonna go work at the inn with my mom. Actually,
The other thing I'm really proud of is interspersed throughout it, mostly for scene changes, but for other emotional beats, I have sea shanties sung by
fun.
the crew.
That's very cool.
And they're real sea shanties that were sung back in the 18th century.
What a great idea.
And it helps mask scene changes.
For sure, yeah.
As we were saying earlier, it takes time. If you make those entertaining,
Yeah.
your audience isn't going to notice as
Exactly.
much. So I have those all throughout. I have them in their entirety, but I have a note at the beginning say you can cut these down. They're very long right now.
Yeah. Basically, about the run scene changes requires,
They're
right?
here for as long as you need them.
Yeah.
You cut 'em
But why would you cut? Yeah, some of them
If I
are.
was directing it, I'd be like, no, take longer to do the scene changes.
Get all the scene change people like moving in time with the rhythm.
That- That's the vision, but it'd be up to whoever's directing.
That's
to
fair.
enact.
Very
Yeah, they don't
cool.
want me whispering in their ear. This is what this is supposed to look like.
That's when you direct it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right. I think we should get Aaron up here before we are out of
Thanks for
time.
having me.
Yeah,
Thanks so much.
for sure.
Yeah, thanks. That was awesome.
Thanks, Dan.
We'll just wait awkwardly for Aaron.
Yeah, we'll just stare at him as he comes
Yeah.
up. Hello.
Well, hello.
Stomp.
How you doing today?
I'm doing good. We got a microphone here. We
Are
can
you
share.
are you all rested? And like I understand you just recently came from breakfast.
Yeah, I did. I did sneak out for breakfast, just to I don't know, get out in the world and community. I think one of the best places to get inspiration, of course, is eavesdropping and listening to
It
other
is.
people. So, yeah.
People watching.
Did you come away with any new ideas?
No, I just did a whole bunch of tech support and.
Oh, not as exciting.
Family demands. So that's good. Like they said, it's hard when we're not 21 and unencumbered anymore. It's hard to
Exactly.
disappear for
So true.
24 hours and not be in contact with the real world.
So what have you been working on the last 24 hours, more or less?
Well, what's funny? This is an interesting time. So this is my third 24-hour challenge, and the first time I went in there, I had a very clear idea from start to finish. Sort of, it was all in my head, so I just had to just put it on paper.
Right.
And that one, I actually got an honorable mention or something like that for it. The second time, I had just an idea, and then just went in and just fleshed out that idea, and then came out of it when, oh, that idea wasn't good at all. And then this time I came in with literally no preconceptions of what to do. Just knew that. So I talked to different people for ideas before, and I was like, well, what's worth putting on the stage right now? Like, why put it on stage rather than on TV or Netflix? Like, yeah, like what's the point of stage? And then Dan said it too, where it's intimate and it's something, that's you can get more emotion out of it. And then we were just spitballing ideas last night, and we were just telling funny stories. And we were talking about Sun Peaks and the housing crisis. We had a fellow from Sun Peaks, and what the rental restrictions with Airbnb are going to affect. And he mentioned that a lot of it's strata. And I had a colleague of mine in the past say that that would make a great show called The Strata. And I just recently moved into a strata in the last 3 years, and the characters and the
Karens.
yes, and the first strata meeting I ever went to, there was swearing and crying, and the president tried to choke someone out, like it was wild.
I've written that down verbatim.
Yeah.
And so then the guys here, and yeah, it is the guys. Unfortunately, there is no strong female component to this playwriting jam, which is something that hopefully we can work on.
Yeah.
So they said, yeah, that's a great idea. You should write about that. And so then I just sat and I was like, well, what would be a good into, like, why do people move to stratas? And I was like, well, it's an elderly couple, probably downsizing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just funny, like just imagining this couple deciding to move into the strata, and they just all of a sudden just bubble out of nowhere, and where you see that it's actually the dynamic of the two And then I realized that the woman probably has early onset Alzheimer's and doesn't realize it. And there's that conflict between them. And the kids aren't there to help, and they're feeling alone, and they're moving into this new world. And the challenges, and it just, all of a sudden, it just became
Very
fleshed
relatable.
out. Yeah. And I imagine, and put it on the stage, I think it's good for, we can talk about local issues. So having local theater companies in town is great, because then, we can pitch it towards the locals, and you can directly reach the people that you're talking to.
But bring humor to it a bit.
Yeah, and so it started off as just a comedy, and the first scene was very, very funny. But then as I got into it, I realized, that it's really these two that are looking at, addressing their own mortality, and it's going to get dark.
Yeah.
But keeping it light and fun, so that
Right.
because nobody wants to,
But it's life.
yeah,
Strata is life.
yeah, and
That is what they say.
That's
That's what they say.
what the Strata people say.
So how much progress have you made so far?
So I got a really strong first scene, and I've got the outline now in my head. I really don't I don't like block things down. I just kind of get the idea in my head and then just kind of follow along as it's going, and so like Dan said too, a lot of the struggle is you're someplace and you don't know where to go, so that's a great time to go take a nap or
Sure. Yeah.
or take a walk, listen to music, visit the world, and just
Yeah.
get your mind off of it, and then see it in and see where it goes, because you can jump scenes and stuff like that. You can write. You could jump ahead and write that part and stuff like that, but
That's what I do.
yeah, and it's just sometimes that works, but as for myself as a writer, I just like to go along for the ride, and so those little bumps are actually good rest points, and you just have to recognize them as it's
Right. Don't fight it.
just
Let it happen.
Yeah.
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 Sometimes you need to sort of let an idea almost percolate, just sort of bounce around in your head before you know what it is or what it should be, and those moments give you that opportunity to walk away and just sort of let your brain fart around with it a little bit.
Yeah, and it's funny. I also I was listening to everybody else talk about their creative process and stuff, and then I realized that I don't see faces of my characters or anything like that. I just have these. I have vision. I just have an impression of the person, and it's so easy then to make the faces of people I know for certain parts of
Right.
it, and then they really become real, and I understand how they would talk and stuff, and
Are
it's,
there people in your actual life that are in the play?
yeah, absolutely. Like everything I write, you don't. Yeah, I think I steal a lot of events that happen and put them into my work. I would say that it's never just one person that I'm like verbatim
Yeah.
just taking and but
Copy and paste.
yeah, it's just everything I've had a character say, I've heard somebody say
Yeah.
before in my life.
Yeah. It's a good way to pull inspiration from real characters.
Yeah, and that's my favorite part of writing is dialogue. So
Yes.
I like playwriting so much because you don't have to worry about anything else. You're just writing dialogue, and that's what's so much fun is I think you can bring so much character out in just the way somebody speaks.
Yes.
And I realized too, because I read my first page, which is supposed to be really humorous, and I can't remember if it was Zach said, but it's dangerous because you put that in the actor's hands and they don't see the humor in it.
It was Dan.
It was Dan, yeah. And you know, all of a sudden it could appear very angry
Right.
if somebody's using, sarcasm and the biting humor.
Yeah.
So it'll be very interesting. This is the first time I've written something that I'm really excited to put it forward and get a reading of it.
Nice.
And to see what happens.
So would that be sort of the next stage, is like to do like a table read of, and get maybe
Oh,
feedback from
that'd be
people
fun.
and
Yeah.
Ooh.
I am working on the first play I wrote. I am going to give it to Chimera to see if they want to put it in the playwriting into the
New play series.
new play
Yeah.
series. But this one I feel well because it's fresh. I guess I don't.
Yeah.
But the first one though was pretty personal to me too. So
Oh, nice.
I like it, and what I've seen is that one has opportunities to make it gender neutral. I had specific gender roles in that, but I've learned in the 10 years it's been that really I didn't have to do that. And so I'm very interested to strip all gender identity out of the play, and then
And just let it be whoever.
and then put it forward and see what people make
Interesting.
out of it. Because there's definitely a dynamic between the two roles that I assumed, and I'd be very interested to see how other people identify
You have a
it.
certain energy in your mind for
Yeah.
how the people will be. Yeah.
Nice. Now, let's, maybe for a minute, because I was noticing on the tables here and also outside your building, just sort of to veer off topic for a second, you were applying for a liquor license.
Yeah, if I put on my other hat, and so
Let's just switch hats here for a quick second before
So,
we're
yeah,
done.
I am the co-owner of the FE Arts Collective, which is the space we're in here, community theater, arts venue, assembly hall. And so, yes, we have been operating in the past where a renter takes out a special event permit. And the BC Liquor Board has the opinion that what it should be is that liquor permit should be taken out by the venue holder so that it's responsibly held events and stuff. Unfortunately, you can only take out 2 a month. So
Not a lot.
yeah, so now they've encouraged us to go for a full-time liquor permit, which is more cost effective. It means that we can set our own prices for liquor sales. We can get liquor purchases. We can buy our stock at a lower rate. And what we're doing is then we're putting in all those savings and the money revenue generated from those liquor sales will help keep rental costs down so that we can still have an affordable venue in town for local artists.
That's great.
The city's put forward lots of proposals for a performing arts center, but it's more for large scale productions. It's all the ideas are very large venues, and so this one's still a smaller venue. We are, and Propolis is a company that's in the process of purchasing this building, tearing down the building and building a new theater. So it will be a new vamped, a larger space, but still a economical size space for local productions that can serve alcohol as a added benefit, not its sole.
Yeah.
We're not and we want the neighborhood to understand that we're not a nightclub. We're
Don't
not
want to be a
bar.
nightclub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The liquor service is available till 1 a.m., but that's dependent on what kind of show it is. Like
Yeah.
the typical.
You're not
theater-
doing comedy night until 1 a.m.
No,
right?
no.
Yeah.
Our
But
40th slip shows end at about 10:30.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and we've been running for 2 years, and we've had no complaints.
Right.
The 2 years ago, they initially said 11 p.m. was going to be the date, but we've been running for 2 years, and the RCMP have had no issues, and they actually said, no, 1 a.m. is actually, you guys have been
So good.
doing that well. So.
Yeah. Well, that's encouraging because I mean, for myself, as someone who has attended a number of shows here, I do appreciate being able to, have a drink, and especially during the comedy nights. I think, having a couple of drinks, whether you're going to be just in the audience or whether you're getting on stage to do your own little, stand-up routine, it just helps to, loosen everybody up and get you in the mood to laugh, and it's.
Is
Yeah.
there food?
Yeah, so that's part of the liquor license is you have to provide something that's a little bit more than what you can get out of a vending machine.
Right.
That's
Okay.
that's the liquor
Right.
laws.
Like fries or
Hot
So
dog roller.
rotisserie chicken?
similar to the Sagebrush Theater where we've got the chips, popcorn, chocolate bars,
Oh,
and
yeah.
baked goods. As long as we have baked goods, then we're in the the good. Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have Hatsuki Sushi right next door, and we do have an agreement with them where they deliver. You can order
Oh.
Hatsuki, they bring it right over.
That's nice.
And new owners over there. Oscar's just fantastic. He's got a new revamped menu, a new dining space, and it's just the food is top notch.
I had it for dinner last night. It's great.
Yeah, we've had artists from Vancouver come through and say, Vancouver's a sushi mecca,
Well, yeah.
Right.
and they're impressed.
Sushi
So
snobs over there.
yeah, so check out Hatsuki Sushi, our neighbors, and support them.
Yeah.
Because we do pump their walls with some loud music ever so often.
But there's also, I saw on the sheets on the tables that there's an email address that people can write to if they want to support the application.
Yep. So if you go to our website, feartsco.ca, there is a link to a pre-form that's already set up that you can just put in your name and your reasons why you want to support this, and then download it and send it to legislate@kamloops.ca. So if you just go to our website, feartsco, EFFIEARTSCO.ca. I'm sure if it wasn't live, it'd be you can or go to our Facebook page, the FE Arts Collective, and our email is the feartscollective@gmail.com. Lots of ways to find that out. The city will be putting it on their website soon,
Right,
as
right.
well.
Cool.
Because there's the public process. We have 30 days of getting the public involved, and showing that we're responsible and that people are supporting this. We're addressing issues of parking and noise, and that it's good for the North Shore. It's good for Kamloops. It's
Yeah.
good for
So
everybody.
It seems to be a relatively respectful crowd here, usually.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. People are here to really enjoy the performances. We've always, we're not a bar scene, so you don't. It's not a cover band that you're just in the background. We encourage all our performers to, this is a concert show where people come in, hit the lights, hit the show, and then
Go home, go to bed.
11 o'clock, get out, and
Yeah.
go enjoy the actual
Go
late night
downtown
venues. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, this is a good place to go before you get hammered at the bar.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
another thing the liquor license is good for, is it prevents shotgunning in the parking lot, right?
Right. That's a good point too. Yeah.
If people really want to have an alcoholic beverage,
They're
before the show,
gonna get one somehow.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, it keeps people from the parking lot shotgunning beers. They're going to come in, they're going to get their, because liquor sales have dramatically dropped provincially. Like the younger generations don't drink like the
Interesting.
the
older ones
the
do.
Gen X and the boomers. Like if we have a good boomer crowd here tonight, they are definitely
On the sauce.
they're purchasing lots of beverages, but on average, it's not.
Interesting.
People really enjoy the non-alcoholic selection, and so it's just to offer just that one little. I really like wine with
Yeah.
my comedy.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've been going for an hour. We can wrap things up here. You have a question?
When do you want to do this again? Like the writing competition. You want this to be an ongoing thing? How often?
Put on your Chimera hat.
Yeah, okay.
Sure. Yeah. How many hats you got, man?
I'm the president of Chimera Theater as well, so we did have a discussion with our artistic producer and the artistic managing director, and we do think that this would be better served and probably get better impact with multiple a year instead of just having 1 year, but just slightly modified. So having this come and go session. And then maybe we could have one a couple months later that has a certain theme to it.
Yeah.
We could have different activities, and then that builds up to the actual, okay, this is now the 24-hour competition where,
You have to stay, and it'll be adjudicated.
yeah.
Right.
And having it 24-hour sequestered, we can offer accommodation so that then we can reach out to different communities. Like there's a huge artistic community in Enderby, Kelowna, and the outlying Lillooet. Get those outlying communities to come to Kamloops for that event, Williams Lake's got a fantastic theater.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
We were just visiting there on the weekend.
So let's get all these people in the surrounding area to come to Kamloops. I think it's technically a tournament, and we are the tournament capital of BC.
There you go.
It's
There you
exactly-
go.
you
That's
put
how you look at it.
Yeah, we could probably get funding from the city if we call it a sport. We could we could put dodgeball maybe in the middle of it.
We could. Except you'd tape script pages to if you get hit, you have to do a monologue.
But yeah, so there's definitely discussion of doing it more often than less often.
That's great. Yeah, I would. I really wanted to come to this, but I had a conflicting schedule. But
I could
if
see
you got
us
another one,
snowballing
yeah.
when you do that.
Yeah, I know the Writers Society of Kamloops. I don't know the exact name of it, but I know that they've kind of gone into a lull.
Yeah.
And so, maybe we can help together. We really, all the artist communities in Kamloops really have to work together.
Yeah.
To, we have to
Elevate each other.
Yeah, exactly. So where, if somebody's nonprofit board is a bit weaker, or things always go in flux. Where can we jump on to keep things going up?
Awesome. Anything else you guys want to share, or final thoughts, or
Want to say hi to your mom and dad?
want to say hi to your mom and dad?
I did share this on Facebook, so I bet you my mom is watching. So, hi, Mom.
Hi, Aaron's
I did.
mom.
Hi, Aaron's mom.
Hi, Aaron's mom.
I didn't
you.
swear this time. Talking
Maybe
to
Kelsey's
Todd.
grandma.
He
Yeah,
was
thank
talking
you.
about that
I've been
earlier.
telling everybody about that. my first stream of this gig, and you're dropping bad words. Anyway,
They're
yeah.
great bad words.
Thank you for not making me have to edit that out of this one afterwards. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks, thanks Dan. Thanks Andrew. Good luck on your scripts, and yeah, until next time.
I said okay.
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 Goodbye.
Fine. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Forever.